Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Y'all know who this is, Dr. Soul Brother, coming at you again with remedy to cure your ills. Yes, I'm back. I had to, as I say, take care of some things um, and bury a loved one in the family. And I was going to talk about that when I came back. I still will, but it just won't be tonight. I'll deal with that on my next show. Because I have a lot I'd like to share with the family regarding my trip down south. So thank you all for your support and continue to support me. Let me get right on into this. Let me say this out the gate. From the time I started my show, I never intended to really talk about other people's channels. However, um, I saw something that really bothers me. And I saw something from this woman on her channel that was bothering me before, but this most recent show that was done, I felt, you know what? I've got to address this. Um, and because there comes a point where you got to draw the line in the sand. And yes, I'm talking about you, Flower Tower. Sister, you become a problem. Okay? Uh, you were going into some stuff that were important regarding our people and all the rest of it that I endorsed. However, um, your obsession with, and even though I'm talking to you, I'm also speaking to others who have a similar mindset, your mentality. Um, this we can't have this. We cannot have this. You really gone. This is spiraled out of control, and this we just cannot have this. What you're doing is exhibiting what would be an obsession as it relates to skin tone. And I'm telling you right now, um, we got to put an end to this. You claim to be about the unification of black folk and others who think like you claim to be, when your rhetoric is the very opposite. Now, I'm aware of people who um, are of a lighter hue who can be somewhat of a problem. However, I'm also aware of some people who are of a darker hue who can be a problem. And you're one of them. You're one of them. You've gone from bad to worse, bad to worse. And I'm telling you right now, it needs to end. You were going in on this sister on TikTok, very light skinned sister who's from Louisiana. Incidentally, that's where I was, last week. Um, and because I have family down there. But you going in on this sister on TikTok who is clearly deeply wounded because of the attacks that she's received um, from black folk who want to try to rob her and deny her of her blackness. And then what you're doing, you're representing a person who, how can I say, like you got a person who's down on the ground, who's in pain and uh, they fall and they can't get up, then you or being beaten up by folks, and then you walk along and jump in the fray. That's jacked up on so many levels, so many levels. So let me say this right now. Um, you know the names, or I'm assuming you know the names of people like Mary Church Terrell, Lena Horne, Freddie Washington. Okay, let's break it down. Mary Church Terrell, who was a light-skinned black woman who was born during slavery, towards the end of slavery, who had two parents who were of mixed parentage. Other words, her mother and father were products of um, uh, interracial situation. I put it that way, and that's why Mary Church Terrell is very was a very light skinned woman. And yet, Mary Church Terrell was very clear on her black identity. Lena Horne, the actress, was very light skinned, came from a light skinned family. Again, very clear on what side of the fence she was on in terms of her black identity. Freddie Washington, actress who played in movies back in the 1930s and whatnot. This is a woman who refused to pass. Refused. I'm going somewhere, family. Stay with me. Please don't leave, because this is serious. Um, Rock Newman. You know Rock Newman. He has his channel, The Rock Newman Show, on YouTube. This is a man who's very light skinned, who could pass for white if he chose to, but he's chosen not to. And he's on record as saying that he doesn't find anything significant about identifying as the other. Okay, because this whole this thing about biracial, multiracial, that's the other, the category of the other. Okay. What else? Uh, you've got all of this stuff going on, and you got all this stuff going on, and well, let me go on and continue because this really gets my jaws tight. It really. And by the way, for the record, for everybody, this is a dark skinned man talking. So they say some dude who's red or high, very light skinned, high yellow, whatever. This is a dark skinned man talking, and for me, this I take issue with this for a host of reasons. Um, yes, you had things like the Blue Vein Society, which was crazy, and the brown paper bag test. And if you were darker than a brown paper bag, you couldn't get into certain clubs and all that kind of madness. But here's the deal, Flower Tower. You go after people who are on the right side of history. That's where it becomes a problem. And not only that, you want to deny people who are of a light skin of their blackness. Who do you think you are? Seriously, who do you think you are? You are out of pocket. You are rude and disrespectful. And I'm telling you straight up, we're not going to have that. We will not have this. This will not be tolerated. There's all this trying to preserve and celebrate Afro Americana culture here in these United States. And that type of rhetoric coming from you runs counter to that. And I'm telling you right now, you need to stop while you're ahead. Because if you don't, this thing not only will it tank what we're trying to do, the other thing is this that's going to come back and bite you in ways that you don't even recognize. Okay, let me continue. Kathleen Cleaver, very light skinned Kathleen Cleaver with light eyes, who was active in the Black Panther Party with her husband, Eldridge Cleaver, light skinned. Elaine Brown, light skinned. Angela Davis, light skinned. Mr. Harry Belafonte, whose parents were not only they light skinned, but they were of mixed parentage. His mother was the product of an interracial relationship. His father was the product of an interracial relationship. Harry Belafonte was a black man. He's on record as identifying himself as a black man. You're going to turn around and deny somebody, not just him, but anybody else of a similar background of their blackness? You are totally out of line, way out of line. And then um, you've got Louise Little, the mother of Malcolm X, okay? Very light skinned black woman who was married to Reverend Earl Little, Malcolm's daddy, who's very dark skinned. His mother, was on record, from what we understand, of purposely marrying a dark skinned man because she wanted to give her children some color. Plus, the whole thing about opposites attract. She was unapologetic about her blackness. And not only that, this is a woman who was not only light skinned, but was of mixed parentage. White father, black mother. You gonna rob her and try to deny her of her blackness? How dare you? How dare you come over and do that? You've totally out your mind. Totally out your mind. And I'm telling you right now, people who endorse you with that kind of crap, they're a problem too. You are a bad influence on those who minds are impressionable And you get off on this. You do. I see you with a little sly smirk on your face and using terms like um what's the terms you use? Oh, biracial Brad or biracial Becky. Those are offensive. They offend me. And I'm not a light skinned person. I'm certainly not a person of mixed parentage. I am a black man born and raised in America with two black parents, with uh, maternal and paternal black uh, uh, grandparents, maternal and paternal great grandparents who were black, etc. I know there's some white folks in there somewhere, but the point is that I cannot reach back to a parent, a grandparent, or a great grandparent who was light skinned or white for that matter. And yet this I recognize that this here is problematic because it runs counter to the unification of black folks. You um uh, purport to represent. But then I have to ask the question, are you really about the unification of black? Are you really about the unification of black folks and others who of that ilk who think like you? Are y'all really about the unification of black folks? And it's clear to me that you're really not. There are limitations when it comes to unification. Limitations. But let me move on. And here's the other thing I want to address. Because there's so much to this. Um, you posted, it might have been a year or two ago, that Angela Rye, Angela Rye who is rather a famous person whose background is in law. You've seen her on CNN, you've seen her on a host of different things, who's light skinned. You're gonna sit up there and suggest or say that Angela Rye uh is of mixed parentage, that she's quote unquote biracial. And by the way, this term biracial is a term white folks created. That's not our term. um, Angela Rye has two black parents. They're both light skinned, but they are black nevertheless. Who do you think you are to try to define people and dictate who is and who ain't? Who are you? Who do you think you are? You are way out of control. You are rude, disrespectful, and we're not gonna have this flower. You need a tall glass of act right. You really do. And because you have an obsession with this color thing. So let's be clear. Angela Rye is a sister. Matter of fact, in many ways, one could argue is far more of a soul sister than you because she has put in the work. What kind of work have you put in? You were doing fine in the beginning. I've been checking out your um, channel for a while. You were doing fine in the beginning with the recognition and highlighting of the achievements and accomplishments and status of black folks in this country. All that was well and good. But then you have clearly gone off the deep end with this obsession. So in the beginning, which I kind of suspected before, it was clear that I wasn't clear whether you were just going in on those who have mixed parentage. But then it's clear you have a problem whether the person is of mixed parentage or not. Somebody like Angela Rye. Imagine that. You're going to look at her and say, oh, no, she's not black. So what you're doing is similar. What you're doing, your attitude towards her is similar to the attitude that you exhibited on your channel recently about that sister in Louisiana who was clearly wounded. Well, it was on TikTok actually, but it was posted on YouTube. But you know what I'm talking about. She's clearly wounded by that. Let me tell you something. I have people in my family who fit that. And if you black in America, you do too, regardless as to what your skin tone may be. So if I have that, we know you have it as well. Okay? Um, but let me move on. Black is more than a color. Is more than color. This is how you can have a person who, regardless of skin tone, can identify him or herself as black. Okay? Let's be clear. And we also need to be clear about something else. This relegating folk to the other category, quote unquote, that right there, believe it or not, is a anglophone or francophone Caribbean transport. Let me say that again. This relegating folk to the other quote unquote category is an anglophone and francophone Caribbean transport. In other words, that is something that would go on during colonial times uh, in Martinique, Guadeloupe, Haiti. Those are the francophone where they speak French, or the anglophone um, islands like Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, Bahamas, etc., Grenada, etc. That was it. So if you let's say you were, who can I use here as an example? Okay, use somebody like Mary Church Terrell or say Daniel Harry Williams, and I'll get to him in a minute. Um, in the Caribbean, they would have been in the colored category. They would not have been in the black category. They've been in colored category. Because let me take some folks to school. If you were light skinned and were of mixed parentage, you were in the colored category. Not black, well, it wouldn't have been black, it would have been Negro back then. But you see what I'm saying? And that is something that a lot of people don't understand. That that um Marcus Garvey, he unfortunately coming from the Caribbean during the colonial period, unfortunately brought to the United States that colonial baggage. He didn't understand that, and nor did he fully appreciate that. That is what we're dealing with. Some of these folks are bringing this here, and that is where that is coming from. That is where that is coming from. And so this is what um you, Flower Tower, and others of your mindset are doing. That's what you're getting that from. Okay, so we it doesn't fit here, and it's caused too much harm. But it's clear you don't really care. You don't really care, which makes you a problem and dangerous. Um, this whole thing about uh this comparison between Misty Copeland and Colin Kaepernick. Well, Misty Copeland's parents, both of them, were of mixed parentage. Okay, and I was talking to somebody when she's talking about, well, um, because I've run into other people who think like you. Well, I don't consider her black. Okay, you don't consider Misty Copeland black, but Colin Kaepernick is black. Yet both of them are of mixed parentage. Who do you think you are? I mean, this is insane. This is completely insane. Let me move on. Um, this whole thing with Daniel Hale Williams, you did a show where you were paying homage to him. Well, Flower, do you not know that Daniel Hale Williams was of mixed parentage? A mother whose background was Scottish and Irish, and father who was black. Are you aware of that? Did you know that? Because here's the thing: since you seem to go in on people who are light skinned and those who are of mixed parentage, it's interesting that you would pay homage to Daniel Hale Williams. See, um, you have a problem. You have a real problem. And but I also notice it's mostly towards the female, and that's been a problem for a while with some of these folks. Um, so that woman there in Louisiana who was on TikTok crying, she's obviously deeply wounded, and your kind of rhetoric pours salt on an open wound. I have never seen it this bad. And this has gone from bad to worse. And I'm telling you right now, you need to stop it. Just kill that noise. Kill it. You're a problem on your channel. There's no stop button with you. You've gone way out of control. Way out of control. And this thing about um, well, um, people being of the they're not, so if they don't look like you, then they're not authentically black according to your line of thinking. I mean, the sheer arrogance and rude disrespect, disrespect. No, and you get off on this. That's clear. I can see that you get off on this. So I'm not going to waste any more time right now for a whole bunch of reasons. But I wanted to get on here and kind of get this off my chest because this really gets my temper rising. It really does. Here we are, some of us are truly about the business of connecting dots and helping us um, truly unify. And that type of rhetoric um, is it runs counter to the unity that some people uh, profess to be about. No, no, we can't. Anything that runs counter to the unification of black, it needs to be cut off at the head, cut off at the knees, chopped off, and put in the graveyard. Now, I am gonna do a show come about my recent trip down south, and there's some things I need to share with the family, but also soon I'm gonna do a show dealing with this whole so-called colorism. I never even wanted, excuse me, to go down this rabbit hole because frankly, as a people, we're not mature enough and not integral enough, I dare say, to address it properly. But this most recent show with Flower Tower, I said, I was already having problems with you anyway, Flower. But when you did that and then referred to her as white, I said, okay, that's it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I said, we're not going to have this. I have got to speak up. Speak up. And it would be irresponsible for me to just sit back and not address it. Not address it. So, no. In Flower Tower, you need to engage in some self or personal inventory because I'm beginning to suspect that one of your motives behind this kind of vitriol is due to a situation where you may be envious of these folk who are of those kind of backgrounds. I truly hope that's not the case, but if it is, you need to be stretched, and others like you need to be stretched out on a therapist couch for real, because you have clearly went off the deep end. So on that note, I'll be back soon. Please hit the subscribe button, the like button, and please comment. I look forward to hearing from you, what you have to say about this broadcast and other broadcasts that I've had prior. And until the next time, God bless.